Right? So in 1921, the kind of things that people would have played, just decided to put this.
Can I suggest that you just move this a little bit more so we can see you a bit. There we go. It looks less precarious. Okay, lovely.
And of course, anybody who played that in the pub in 1921, they go, pack up your children's in your old.
Can you tell me, Dad? Hello.
Smile, smile, smile. Well, if you've a Lucifer to light your fang, smile, boys, that's the style. What's the use of worrying? It never was worthwhile. Pack up
On the
your
right
children's in
here,
your old kit bag and
these
smile.
tenants,
Big
tenements.
old houses. Yeah.
Yes, now that's the site, I think, of the Campden House. So it's now called Campden Houses, but I think it's the site. It would have been set back. There would have been greeny around it, but of a big mansion. One of the big mansions of Kensington.
Okay.
Because Kensington people were rich, but you had to have little pubs like that for their servants, didn't you?
Right. So that's the little pub for the servants.
Yes.
This
There's
is where
the
they
mansion.
live. The mansion. Okay. So this.
Behind me, of course, we've
Yeah.
got you passed it on the way, the grounds of Kensington Palace.
Okay.
The Royal Palace.
So tell me about Peel Cottage.
I know nothing about it when I was here, but obviously that's old.
Okay.
That's modernised, but Sir William Russell Flint.
Yeah.
I'll have to find out about it. Okay.
I'm ready.
What was a private bar? Why do you want a private bar? This is where men do deals. Why do you want a sherry bar? This is where ladies tend to sit down. Phoebe says that. Hey, the day was so keen on ladies coming to run sitting down in the early 20th century. Well, what's a standing up lady?
I don't
Phoebe,
know.
what's a standing up lady? A standing up lady is possibly a prostitute.
Oh dear. Lovely.
You would only
Great for
have-
framing.
So having a sherry bar was a way
Shaming
of saying,
prostitutes.
yeah, no prostitutes here.
Yeah.
You have to be a lady.
So set it up for us. Like, what would this pub have felt like in 1921?
That road is a main thoroughfare with big houses around it.
Right.
So it would originally set itself up to attract upper class and middle class patrons, males. And therefore the frontage looks very much like a country inn. And it would have been surrounded anyway by fields. As the surrounding streets became more mixed, and we walked up a street, Peel Street, which is little workmen's cottages.
Yeah.
The decision was made to refurbish it with separate bars for different classes.
Right.
To the sherry bar.
Hi.
Here we go.
Thank you.
No worries.
This is Constantine.
Yes.
This is Phoebe.
Nice to meet
Nice to
you.
meet you, Phoebe.
Now, this is Nectar.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Made a mistake.
Oh, I've had one
That's
too.
Dunbar.
Oh, it's got to be yours. And this
No,
one as well.
no.
My treat.
I'm
sorry.
My treat. My
Even-
treat. My
even
treat.
the Dunbar.
This
Oh, my
is
word.
Timmy
Okay.
Taylor, yeah? Timmy
Yeah,
Taylor.
thank
There you
you.
go.
Yeah, we've got
What's
the
it
wrong
for Dunbar?
Have you had a
It's a bit
sip?
dark, no?
No, so
I haven't.
that can go back. No, but it can't because of COVID. Oh,
yes,
God,
sorry.
nightmare.
There you go. Happy
Oh, I'm
days.
so
Happy
sorry.
days. If you like Dunbar, if you don't.
Dunbar's fine.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just- this is from
I mean,
Yorkshire.
Yeah. However, look at us, bloody hell! Like, I am going to need something to eat. Oh, in a
Why are we
What do
talking about pubs at all? Come on, why?
Okay, yeah. So
Why are we
personal,
talking about
right.
pubs?
So to explain, you're a musician, and you've been performing in pubs since
60s.
60s.
Yes.
Yeah. What's it been like for you? Why do you love pubs?
One of the reasons is I can get a decent price of beer still.
Yeah.
Because when the campaign for real ale was started
Yeah.
in 1971, just 50 years ago, the big brewers had moved towards chemical beers that didn't require any skill in serving them or protecting them.
You explain to me, why have we got pistachios and why have we got...
You can see we are in a respectable area, and they've tried to keep it respectable. Now, each borough in London had to pay for its own people, so it collects borough rates for the borough council. Hello.
You just ordered food, but we need the table back at 5:30.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm not going to be able to do that because I've got my next table
Oh,
coming
I
at
see.
5:30.
Right,
You won't be able to get the food out in time. I don't.
That's fine.
I'm really sorry, guys.
That's all right. I mean, it's just
It's okay, no problem. Why have we got this here?
we've got this here to represent how the rates were distributed.
Right. So these are whose? They are the West London
Your West
community,
London,
right?
because you've got fucking
These are pistachios, yeah? So pistachios are pretty expensive as far as I know.
and you mustn't eat any more of them.
I'm not going to.
You can see they're roughly the same.
These are a mixture of cashews and almonds, but these represent the East London communities. They're cheaper in general, okay?
Okay? Now, the rule is you have to look after your people, and Poplar has to look after their people.
Right.
That means orphans, I have to look after in Poplar. Widows, I have to look after in Poplar.
So these are all of the rates of those
That's right.
households
I
in
collect
East
the
London.
rates in East London from the people who own the properties
Yeah.
in East London. They're property taxes. The rates were the way in which we collected local taxes
Yeah.
for my entire life, just about, until we got council tax
Yeah.
under Margaret Thatcher.
Margaret Thatcher 80s, okay, yeah.
There are some things, however, that have to be provided for London-wide.
Yes.
What are you going to do with your mad people? You're saying that Poplar has to look after its mad people, or do we just say asylums? What about your water? Everybody needs clean water. We found out with cholera that you can't just depend upon the boroughs to supply clean water.
Right.
Otherwise people are going to die, and if they die they're not available to make profits for the people who own the factories and businesses, all right? You've also got the Metropolitan Police have to be provided London-wide, and we now have a London County Council. London County Council also has to be provided with funds. Therefore, each borough is subject to a precept. The precept is the same for every borough to make it fair.
What does precept
The precept is a name for this money has to go towards the London-wide provisions before you get to look after your orphans and your widows and your out of work. We're used to a nationwide unemployment
Yeah.
dole.
Yeah.
That was not
That didn't
Same.
exist back then, right?
In 1921, quite simple, for 100 years, in 1921, virtually 100 years, because it started in 1834, each borough had to look after its own poor people. It was so much so that you know, if you turned up from Poplar in Wakefield, oh no, you're not Wakefield people. If you're poor, you have to go back to Poplar. You become a drain on their resources, not ours.
Okay, so these are...
At the moment, they're roughly equal. Is that all right?
Yeah.
The only thing is, yours are worth more. Kensington is rich.
Well, you're whispering and they can't hear.
Kensington is
rich, right?
Therefore, the shells on your pistachio nuts are also worth. These are mine. They're spicy because they come off the London docks. But I've only got those nuts, all right? Don't eat them.
I'm not eating them.
No, I'm just saying. Otherwise it spoils the thing.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Before I can spend any of this on my poor, I'm going to call them, I have to pay the London precept. So let's start with one about mad people. Okay, remember.
People
Now, this is what
in asylums.
this is what you collected in rates in Kensington. This is what I've collected in rates in Poplar. So, I'm going to say arbitrarily, to pay for your mad people, you have to put into the London precept 5.
Right, 5 of these. 1,
No.
2.
Remember, 5 means the shell as well. So
What
this,
about?
listen. Remember, it's worth more. That's
Yeah?
one. That's one,
Okay.
isn't it?
Okay.
Okay. Now 5.
I need 5 of these, right?
So-
Okay. Well, there's no thing in that. Okay.
So, oh, you've got more than enough there. Look,
There.
mad people. Are you ready? Mad. 1, 2, 3. That wasn't enough. 3,
4,
4,
5.
5. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. We also have to pay for clean water.
Okay.
I want,
much is that?
this time I want 8.
8. Okay. 8 for clean water.
Ah, yeah, but remember the shell counts.
All right. So 1, 2,
Cholera is a terrible thing.
3,
2.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I can take that out. There you go. 8.
Right? Okay. Now I have to pay for mad people. We've got the water, London wide. I mean, Jack the Ripper. There are people here still remember Jack the Ripper. Now, Metropolitan Police Force. I want 10.
10. So 1,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right.
I mean, if we really look at it, so if I give you how many we've got at the moment. So this is West London. This is how many I've counted up because I'm including shells and I'm including insides. And already, like, that's a bigger little circle than me, isn't it? So
Now, London County Council, I'm going to say, has to cost you another 6.
okay, 6, right? Here
6.
we go. 1, 3, 4. So yeah, if we look at that, we can see that I've got more pistachios than East London does. So West London
Because you're richer.
is richer than East. There we go.
That's right. All of that goes towards the precept. So now, that was arbitrary. I didn't give you the actual percentages. That's what we have to deal with.
Kind of rough, right?
What Poplar said was, in 1921, that's not fair.
Yeah.
The poor people who are keeping London going, they're living here in Poplar. The people who went and fought in the First World War for you, for us all, they were living here. Your people, far fewer of them risked their lives on the Western Front. You've got to remember, orphans, widows, unemployment, Are you unemployed in West Kensington?
Yeah, I was going to say,
No. The unemployment strikes much harder in Poplar.
yeah. So here it is.
So Poplar said, sorry, we can't afford the precept. We can't afford to give you all that. We need all that for the ordinary people of Poplar who are suffering more than people in Kensington. That's not fair. And so Poplar Council said, you can't have the precept this year. You can't have it.
Yeah.
We need it for people of Poplar. And the law said, no. The precept goes out before any of that money from the rates goes to people of Poplar. And if you're not going to give it to us, you go to jail. Are you prepared to face that? George Lansbury, the mayor of Poplar, and his councillors, 30 of them, said no. If you're going to put us in jail, put us in jail. But we cannot do that. We can't afford it unless you sort out a more equal way of coping.
It's going to keep doing it. Because I want it in an hourglass. Basically what's...
In the East End of London, you will find by the river what would have been quite serious drinking houses. Places where dockers and sailors came to get smashed. They were not places where you bring children. They were not places where you bring families.
Okay. Right.
So much so that the labour movement in the East End of London was a tendency toward temperance. You would provide tea rooms.
Right, so loads of tea rooms,
And you would attract workers who couldn't afford very much to come and eat there. Because that way, if you provide a
So that
respectable
kind of
place...
flows into like cafes, right? I feel like cafes are a real East End thing. Like I feel like that could have
Yes.
been like that.
The cafes will very much, have to serve up a decent meal for
Alright.
people who've just come from work and might be able to meet their wife, their girlfriend, for respectable eats and drinks. Do you remember as in the walk up, we saw the Peel Arms halfway up the street?
Yeah.
In the East End of London,
Yeah.
you would have put a pub on each corner halfway along the street as well.
Yeah.
Why? Because you've shoehorned the labourer and his wife and their 13 kids into 2 rooms. And they shit and wee out in the backyard. Okay, so when I come away from work, I'm not going to go home, am I? I'm going to go to the nice place that's on the way home, the pub.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of respite from an intense home situation.
oh yes, this pub was here when it was countryside and gardens around here, horticultural gardens.
Yeah.
In other words, when it was first built, you built a small country inn surrounded by fields and palaces and mansions.
Yeah.
But your clientele by the 1920s has changed.
Yeah.
This pub can no longer direct itself at the male rich people. People down Peel Street, they're at work there. They haven't been coming in here because this has been landlord's territory. What are you going to do? You're going to go down market. But there are people round about, like the Baptists down the road, who want to close you down because there's a temperance movement.
What does a temperance movement mean?
It means that you believe that strong drink is separating the man, the working man, from his family and his responsibilities.
Yeah.
Like the Americans did. The
Like, so,
Americans,
yeah, around the
1920,
20s.
1933
What
had
was it called?
prohibition.
The prohibition.
Prohibition.
Yeah.
Now,
The alternative
the first
that
thing you
go
do
there.
to make sure this remains a drinking day
Yeah.
is you have to make it respectable.
Yeah.
One of the ways in which you make it respectable is the classic saloon bar, public bar. Public bar is for working men in their togs, all right? They've just come from work. The East End would have been full of it. Ale houses. They're straight off the street. They don't have back gardens like this. They don't have backyards. Unless they're brewing their own beer in it.
But that doesn't tend to happen, yeah.
In the East End, you've got breweries in amongst the houses. Truman's Brewery is, still there.
Yeah.
In 1921, the forces at work which caused them by 1933 to decide the highfalutin public, they're not going to be coming here anymore. There's just not enough of them. We've got to cater for the people round about, and we've got to see off the temperance people who'd like to close us down. So you make it respectable. And you introduce not just a saloon bar and a public bar, but you have a sherry bar. What's a sherry bar for? Ladies.
Ladies, right? Okay. So even
When you
in
go
that
in-
context, they're separating men from women as a means to keep it civil, but it's actually serving capitalist intentions to make more money, because at the time they need that in order to get more people in. So it's interesting that social divisions are coming up in the design of pubs.
Absolutely. There was still very much was a place of entertainment. Right? Now, the ale house down the road, I would suspect would have been just a place where you could get a bevy.
Right.
Some of those bevies would be quite strong. They'd be tipples. You'd go for a brandy. So that by the time you got home, you'd be feeling ready for whatever your missus has cooked you. All right?
Yeah.
Now, but this is a pub that would never have gone down the road of entertainment. Some pubs in the East End attached themselves to music halls. A place where you could drink and eat and have entertainment. That had been closed. You've got to remember, it's 1921. The music hall era ends, by and large, by about 1915, 16. First World War, we want sober workers. One way of doing that is to close down the music halls because they're being entertained and they're eating and they're drinking and they're becoming pie-eyed and they're no use for anybody. Another thing that you do is you impose drinking times. There was a time when pubs couldn't open for as long as they liked. Pubs could open for lunch times but had to close by 3.
Wow.
You don't remember those times because you're far too young. All right? And they would reopen again for what we called early doors. Early doors, straight off work, 5:30, down the pub.
Wow.
So much so there's a lovely comedy programme you should access called Early Doors. It was the tail end of that. Right? People used to go down for early doors. So early doors was a way of getting in a couple of bevies before you went. All that sort of separating the times when it was okay to drink was also part of keeping the British respectable and sober.
Right.
Gardens was seen as a way of keeping the family together.
Okay.
Some pubs have family rooms.
So just to explain what's happened, we've had to transition outside because they need to make money, and they need to have more people come in.
This is 2021, you see.
This is Roger Wagner after a few beers. He's like,
I'm always like this. In 1921,
yeah,
those who ruled this country, who tended to be bankrolled as they are today by the rich and the powerful, were actually fearful that revolution would happen here. Revolution had happened in Germany in the aftermath of the First World War. It had happened in Hungary in the aftermath of the First World War. The spectre was there. And that's why in a very short time the rates revolt caused the government to look again at the way in which they funded local government and to make it more equitable. In other words, to make it fairer to ordinary working people.
Right. Okay. So tell me a little bit about your experience, your first experience listening to music in a communal space with people.
It was once I went off to university, which is strange really, because it would have been happening around me in my local pubs in South Yorkshire when in my teenagehood and so on. But I don't remember ever experiencing live music in a pub in South Yorkshire at that time. It was when I went off to university. We used to go down the Union Bar for the folk club. I was encouraged by Steve.
For context, my godfather.
Yeah, we used to go down there and see amazing, beautiful musicians that I still follow, I still love to listen to. And they gave us a little flavour of what was actually happening in the outside world that I hadn't experienced. When I came back to Yorkshire in 1969, by then I was at university, but I came back, see my mum and dad and my brothers and so on. Well, I can't remember how it happened, but me and Andy used to take our girlfriends. Elizabeth used to do the driving because she's the only driver we had. There were 4 of us, and I think we used to perform together, but I don't know. And there in Batley Folk Club, I'd meet the lady who, very prim, proper lady who would, each time we went down there, she would get up to do her 2 songs. I'd get up and she'd do the same 2 songs. And when she did, she'd do it. They were ballads. She would sing beautiful ballads.
Oh wow!
Her voice was to die for. She was.
Yeah.
And she used to do the same 2 songs, and the entire pub.
Yeah.
Goes silent. The respect that she excited amongst all of us. Even us, I don't think Andy was old enough to be in a pub really. I was 19?
Yeah.
Anyway, but also there was Tommy Daniel. Tommy Daniel would get out a 4-string banjolele. That's a ukulele,
banjo in one.
And he would sing his songs. Now he was an old textile worker, born like my granddad in the 1890s. He used to come and he would sing one particular song that I remember distinctly because it's still sung around the world.
Yeah.
You find loads of people do it, called Poverty Knock. And the banjolele itself didn't inspire respect. Didn't. It's a banjolele. It's a banjo. That in 1969 was.
Yeah. Oh, what's that? Right. Yeah. But he went on there and he was like,
He was brilliant.
Fucking, let's go. That's how I imagine him.
Poverty, poverty, look. My roommate is saying all day. Poverty, poverty, look. Gaffer's too skinny to pay. Poverty, poverty, knock. Keeping one eye on the clock. I know I can scuttle, but I am a shuttle go. Poverty, poverty, knock. Of every every morning at 5. I wonder that we keep alive. Tired and yawning in the cold morning, back to the dreary old drive. Poverty, poverty, knock. My loom it is saying all day. Poverty, poverty, knock. Keeping one eye on the clock. Poverty, poverty, knock. Keeping one eye on the clock. I know I can scuttle when I hear me shuttle go. Poverty, poverty, knock. Up every morning at 5. I wonder if we keep alive. Tired and yawning. Oh yeah. Tired and yawning in the cold morning. It's back to the dreary old drive. Oh dear, we're going to be late. Gaffer is stood at the gate. We're out of pocket, our wages they'll dock it. We'll have to buy grub on the slate. Sometimes a shuttle flies out, gives some poor woman a clout. There she lies bleeding, with nobody heeding. Oh, who's going to carry her out? Oh.
So, what are we talking about? We're talking about, so upright drinking. So what you were telling me about upright drinking and the fact that if a woman was standing upright in 1921, it was assumed she was a prostitute.
Well, no, she might be mistaken.
Might be mistaken, right? So
And that would be enough.
This is interesting, yeah.
That would be enough for the temperance people to spot it and say, oh, close that pub down. Oh, no.
Right, but that's so interesting that like things like that could happen. Even now, you see like women, like even if they dress a certain way, it's like they're coming across as like wanting some sort of attention, right?
Yes.
Okay, and it's the same thing with that kind of time. It's about, okay, you're standing upright, so that means you're a prostitute, right? I also love that we're having this conversation. And right now, you know, it's exactly the demographic that this stuff happens. Like, like when I'm growing up in pubs with you, I found like it was fine. It was, you know, you were respected. I'm a little kid running around the pub, and everyone's like taking care of me.
But
obviously,
by then it was the 1990s, early 2000s.
Yeah, growing up in that environment, I felt really welcome. But as soon as I was old enough to go back into pubs and doing that with my friends in college, it was the environment where I felt like I fit. Like I had people like say odd comments to me. It ends up being about like you being a woman in a pub space, and it's like very much feels like a male space, even in how pubs are designed. Like it feels like the sort of place. It feels like in some pub designs it's like the sort of place you want to just sit and talk, but in the kind of male areas it feels like you want to stand and like have a fight.
You don't mind standing.
I know that history is important, but in my perspective right now in pub culture, it's like pub is still associated with being a man, and it's still associated with being,
I agree.
It's not a welcoming space for a woman in general, and you have to assert yourself a bit more, and also that counts for like non-binary people. Like going into pub spaces, it's not safe for them. So it's like, it's interesting that from 1921 to 2021 that change hasn't happened.
No,
as much as like people try
years.
to like So how that it's proof that, you know, we don't have equality. You know, as much as people are like, oh, men and women are equal now. Like, no. Like, when you go into a pub, what is the proportion? What is the demographic that is mostly in a pub?
That's right.
It's not, doesn't tend to be
There
women.
are pubs where women together can walk in.
Yeah.
There are pubs where,
Yeah, no, it's safer.
Oh.
It's safer.
if they did,
But that's the other thing. It's like,
people
you know,
would look at them. Can you imagine somebody coming to the building site, building mansions round here and saying, I'm just going to go in the Windsor Castle for a pint?
No, it's
No.
not that space.
It's not that
and
space.
that's so interesting because now it's still like, if we look at the demographic that's even out here right now, it's like, it still fucking stands for the same shit.
Absolutely.
Right? It's not changed. So this is specifically inspired by the fact that my dad was raising me in pubs, and I wrote it when I was 17.
Don't say I was raising you in pubs. I wasn't.
You were. You were.
We just went to pubs because
Yeah, we went to pubs because you were a musician.
Musician.
Yeah, so you were a musician, so I had to be looked after by the pub and by the community. Often I was like left, you know, to be cared for by someone local to the pub, local to my dad, but
Unknown
wasn't
to
necessarily
you.
unknown to me, right? But he trusted them, and I was cared for by them because the pub was that kind of space. When I eat salt and vinegar crisps, they vibrate at the back of my tongue, teeth crunching with the amps in a pub in Peckham. I didn't like salt and vinegar, but it was usually all they had. My dad's gigs were for babysitting. A 20-something woman usually sat beside me. She altered monthly, always wore a summer dress that intertwined with smoky notes blown through a saxophone. They bounced on varnished floorboards, ordered beer and wine for the house, and then laughed at the picture on the chimney breast. Colours blurred people made of sun smoke, but she smelt like flowers on skin and beer spilt on mahogany tables. Her tan brightened the smile that cleared the floating dust, laughing a pathway to the back garden. Packed, piled body heat pushed through an archway laced with ivy. Platformed on picnic tables, my dad and a collection of instrumented people filled a pub garden with summer warmth. With the wood at the soles of their fingers, getting darker till it was too hard to see familiar features, illuminated only by beer bottle reflections and fairy lights. I danced solo to the strings on their fingers, till Dad realised I was too young to be unwatched, tapping shoulders, shuffling me into a room with a pool table with a 20-something drummer whose arms I'd innocently follow as they carved the 8-ball rolling into the pocket. I'd go back outside and hear the ringing of the last guitar solo, chattering my teeth through another packet of salt and vinegar crisps. There'd be 20-something women hanging around my bench, and I'd stare at them because they were so beautiful, and they'd stare at me because I was so young. Playing Tomb Raider on my Game Boy with an Indian girl who had hair like a river, and it weaved between huddled round beers, and we'd run to the rocking horse, old and battered. Those never again meets, blue binded in blues. But the gold paint scratching away still made it beautiful. I haven't seen it since. Forgotten when the pub became a shell. Stopped dancing solo. Stopped going to my dad's gigs. Stopped being a kid. I used to draw mind maps on newspapers. Do homework drinking orange juice that definitely was from concentrate. I didn't know any of the songs my dad played. All I have is this taste of salt and vinegar crisps on the back of my tongue when I hear the blues that I used to hear my dad play. Yeah. What images does it bring to mind when you hear it?
I can see you in the backyard of the Bedford Arms that summer.
Just contrast big time to some of the things I've experienced since then. Particularly going into clubs, not so much pubs, but there is a different kind of tone to the like male atmosphere you you get in pubs. And I guess in the pandemic it's different because that's even divided even now. Like we're looking out on a pub garden, it's kind of divided into groups of 2, and you know, you can't really experience that community right now.
Right now,
No.
you're reminded of what we're missing. You know, each table is organised for 6 at the most, and yet there we were in the backyard of the Bedford Arms in Streatham, and could be as many people as you like sat around the table drinking, looking after the kids, eating salt and vinegar crisps, as you remind me.
Wrote this when I was like 17 as well. I'm a carer for 8 people, work for £5 an hour. I wake up at 6:30, check my mum's taken 3 pills, help her make 2 slices of toast. I drive to the care home at 7:30, where I've worked for 10 years. I help the 6 clients take 10 pills, make 6 of them smile, stop a fight between 2 of them, take 1 to the zoo. I finish my shift at 10:30. I help cook my mum 1 meal. I haven't gone out in 2 months. I used to read 20 books a year, now I read 2. I have a daughter. She cleans 10 tables, makes 20 coffees, mops twice, makes 1 person smile, 2 sandwiches, and altogether that costs £6. I work for the private homes manager. She does 1 check every 3 months. She has 1 pen, 1 clipboard, makes 20 ticks, 10 crosses, 49 words. Returns to a desk with a printer. Has an hour's break. She makes 2 pie charts about profit margins, likes 6 photos, reads 2 articles about Kim Kardashian, and concludes that they need 1 less carer. She works for £40,000 per annum. I'm a carer for 8 people, work for £5 an hour.
But we're still facing the same problem now,
Yeah.
that communities are supposed to shoulder the burden.
Even like I was reading a book recently about how women, how society is designed in so many ways against women and their perspective of, well, just that things are designed against women. So like the fact that women have to shoulder a lot of the care in our society.
It's a presumption that women will provide. Women will step up to the plate and provide what we're not providing.
Yeah.
Now, this is really a song by Otis Taylor, who wrote it about the 1970s and about to get made. But it seemed to suit what's happening now. And it's in E, so that means I've got to go there. Somebody gone, somebody gone, somebody gone, somebody gone. Every time I look around, somebody gone. 2020, stupid mortality. Could have been you and it could have been me. Every time we look around, somebody gone. Save us all, so locked down. Can't go to work, can't go to town. Every time we looked around, somebody gone. Somebody gone. Somebody gone. Somebody gone. Somebody gone. Look around. Who survived? Checking my neighbor. See they're alive.
Every time we look around, somebody gone. My friend Paul slipped out of mine, fractured the rhythm, broke up the band. Every time I look around, somebody gone. Uncle Robin's sax reached the end of the line. It's killing the music, a riff at a time. Every time I look around, somebody gone. Hey there, Steve, before you rolled it along, you ain't beat until you beat out the song. Every time you look around, somebody gone. You look in the church, somebody gone. The market, the office, somebody gone. Care home, your home, somebody gone. Look in your heart, somebody gone. Every time you look around, somebody gone. Every time you look around, somebody gone.
Nice one, Dad. It's a good song. Like that.
Is it?
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I love
It's
her.
much hoppier. This could be part of the film.
It can be, yeah.
Come on.
So,
I believe you have a poem.
yes, I do have a poem.
What we're going to do?
But a perform.
You want to do your poem?
The way you turned to me, like, what are we gonna do? The camera beer guide,
Yeah.
which is it's known as now. Which,
And
as a
so-
child, I remember it always being somewhere in the house, and you had
Did you?
every year, every year the camera beer
Yes,
guide would be
that's right.
somewhere in the house. And so
That has to be introduced because it's not
can you look at the camera? Can you see yourself there?
I can see
You can't
myself there.
So you need to. If you're leaning back, stand upright. Stand upright. Okay, there you go. You can see your head now.
Yes.
And you've got the hat on still.
Well, it's cold for people with
Yeah.
bald heads.
Yeah, it's a bit of a.